Volume Number 1, January 2nd, from jjparadise.mooney. It is my belief if you want to be a time traveler, just get lost in a good memory. It's easy. From the Mooney Family Saga collection, this is Angel Came Callin. The day started out the same as the day before, but today's the day the story starts. It's fall 1956, much simpler times indeed. I'm not quite 4 years old yet, but I still remember this day as if it just happened. At that age, I wasn't able to write, so I just saved this story to my memory hard drive in hopes that someday I might convince myself to write the story. For a small fee, of course. This is how it turned out. My big brother Jim was my ultimate hero. I always did better when he was around. I loved him dearly and all that, but I realize now a big part of what Jim had going for him was the clothes he wore. My folks made sure, come hell or high water, that the boys, Jim and John, my other older brother, had brand new dress clothes to start the upcoming school year. Nothing like the smell of something new. That's the only thing I saw good about going to school. It was coming up for me, but I didn't like the idea much. Well, I'd been eyeballing the fanciest Jim Dandy shirt you ever saw since the first of last school year. It was a red plaid long-sleeve dress shirt with snap buttons everywhere buttons went. Jim was looking good in that there shirt. Both boys looked like sharp-dressed boys. I think John was the cuter of the two, but somewhat accident-prone. Now, this was no ordinary shirt, I was told. The label said bleeder shirt, washed separate, no bleach. I didn't quite know what all that meant till this summer. We had this thing called the round robin of hand-me-downs. John, being next in line, should have got that shirt when Jim outgrew the sleeves. At that time, Jim establishes the new rule. It's mine. I'm keeping the shirt, asking Mom to cut the sleeves off. Mom made it look easy, miraculously turning the shirt into a wearable short sleeve. I might add, notably Jim's favorite shirt. I could hardly wait. I figured when Jim outgrew that shirt, it wouldn't fit John either, John showing no interest in the shirt. We moved around a lot in those days, living in motels along State Street, so we hadn't acquired a washing machine at this house yet. No one owned a dryer back then, not sure if they were even invented yet. Clothes usually drying on the clothesline out back, all natural in the sun. Fortunately for Mom, we had a laundromat close to the house, a wagon trip away. Mom couldn't quite get the hang of driving a stick shift, so she didn't drive, though an automatic shift was in the near future. I was about to find out what bleeder shirt meant. Mom and I loaded up the 2 red radio flyer wagons we owned with the wood panels. We were on our way to the laundromat. Each of us had a handle in hand. Somehow that bleeder shirt ended up in the middle of everything white. Uh-oh, no bleach. We grabbed the whites from the washer. The whole load had turned the cutest shade of pink you ever did see. Man. Right in the middle of the sheets, shorts, socks, well, like I said, everything. There was that shirt. I thought to myself, now that is some kind of powerful shirt. I looked at Mom with a big grin, one tooth missing, and said, I gotta have that shirt. We both laughed, and then we laughed a little more. We had that oops kind of look on our faces. How cool was that? I wanted that shirt even more than ever. It wouldn't be long until I could be cool like my big brother Jim. Today was that day. Oh my gosh, I put that shirt on and instantly became a cooler kid than the minute before. I felt bigger, stronger, smarter. I'm deep in thought. I was really feeling it, man, so now I have to do something to live up to that shirt. I'm looking around for a Jim thing to do. There on the back porch sat this very big, very expensive European downhill racing bike. 26-inch frame built for speed. Dad had totally reworked this bike to its original condition. From the high-gloss brown gold metal flake paint job baked at Earl Shives to the handmade leather foot straps he made to fit the big shiny pedals, as well as a thin leather strap hanging around both hubs of the wheel, keeping it polished as it turned. This was some kind of bike. However, that bike really scared me, and here's why. As cool as the Brown Wonder appeared to be, the bike's brakes were very confusing to say the least. The straps on the shiny pedals wasn't for looks like I originally thought. You had to pull your foot up in the straps, adjusting them ahead of time to fit. Then to activate the brakes, the opposite of every other bike I had ridden, you had to pull up on the back pedals. That's why the straps were there, and way too big for my foot. As confusing as all that was, it wasn't the catch. The catch was you had to be able to reach the pedals while sitting on the seat, something I couldn't do. Even with the seat all the way down, I didn't reach the pedals. That had been my problem in the past, but today I had Jim's shirt on. Now I called mine, and I was deep in thought. I circled around the bike a couple of times. This might take me a minute to figure out how to take this big a step. Remember, no brakes. That's my biggest concern, and I lived on a hill. I had rode that bike on flat ground while standing on the pedals with someone there to help me stop, never really going very fast. I spent the morning thinking about how to pull this off. I loved a challenge, but no brakes. I hem-hawed around for a bit, then I tracked Mom down, knowing she was busy doing Mom things, but hoping maybe something would come to me. "Hi, Mom, what do you think of me and my shirt?" I strutted around some. I was really feeling it, too, and I'll admit if I had a cape, I'd be flying. Her reply, "Well, it looks a little big on you now, giving you plenty of room to grow. I know how much you like that shirt." Had I gotten up a little earlier, I could have gone with Dad uptown to Sally's. Wearing this shirt there would have been all I needed, and I wouldn't have been thinking about that bike at all. Sally's was Dad's nickname for Salvation Army second-hand store. This is where Dad found the Brown Wonder. Dad had nicknames for a lot of things. There were other second-hand stores, but Sally's was the largest and by far the funnest. 4 floors of this and that and the other thing. Big stuff and little stuff. Dad was a pretty good horse trader, always knew just what he was looking for and what he was willing to pay. This very large building took up a whole half a city block between 3rd South and 2nd South on West Temple, uptown Salt Lake City. The huge freight open-air elevators were fun just to ride, the musty but pleasant smells of used things changing with every floor. The Sally's building, kitty corner to the Union Pacific train station. My grandfolks on my mom's side of the family, the Allreds, LDS by the way, with lots of Utah history, run a breakfast lunch cafe inside the terminal. Oh yeah, and of English descent. Just down the street on the same side was the farmer's market next to Salt Lake Cab Company, owned by Grandpa Mooney, Irish to the core. Grandma, half Cherokee and Irish, both Catholic. We heard about the differences of beliefs and opinions from time to time, but we were family and stuck together. Dad was somewhat of a jack of all trades, I guess. It seemed like my dad could do anything. I had a special rapport with Father the other boys didn't have. While they were off at school, I was Dad's go-getter, fetch boy, hand me this, hand me that guy. I wasn't good at sports like my brothers, so I did whatever I could to earn his approval. My specialty was knowing the different sizes of his socket sets as well as the names of his wrenches, handing him the appropriate tool upon request. So when I seen his greasy calloused hand come out from underneath the car saying please me, I did. Dad claimed he kept track of things in his little black book, making a note for extra credit stuff. However, I never saw that book. The big payoff for me was I got to tag along with Father while he made his rounds to some of the places previously described, then making a day of it. If I wasn't hanging with the grandfolks, Vance and Eva Grace, getting breakfast or sometimes lunch with a hug, or some days getting dropped off at the cab company, while Dad disappeared for a bit doing business at places I couldn't go, Grandpa Mooney might give me a rub on the head, but never a hug. I miss those days. Well, anyway, if I was anywhere else with Dad, I was to be seen and not heard. Not too sure what was going on, lots of money exchanging hands. Only finding out later that Grandpa and Father were, well, I can't say. After Father was through for the day, it was a quick stop at Cress's department store, specifically the candy shop and hot roasted nut bar, the great smells making the anticipation seem longer. I could hardly wait to sink my tooth in a huge piece of chocolate or vanilla fudge with a walnut in every bite. Ooh-wee, are you kidding me? If you haven't had a piece of that chocolate, you haven't lived. Or maybe a bag of hot roasted cashews, or perhaps Dad's favorite, Spanish peanuts. Oh man, I love cresses. I always left there smiling. I could be there right now getting my head rubbed by every old person that saw me, asking me things like, where did you get all those freckles? Or state, what a great head of red hair. Upon their approach to the top of my head to get a rub or two, outreached hands old and wrinkled, slightly bending forward when they got the chance to rub my head. The things we had in common, young and old, we all seemed to be happy, smiling, all aglow, smiles getting bigger and bigger the closer we got. Maybe the rub was just for luck or something like that, but to me it felt as if we were in remembrance of a person, place, or time, perhaps time traveling to a moment not forgot, connecting us like twine on a spool, if only for that moment. Whatever it was, I thought it was pretty cool. I couldn't help but smile. Rub all you want. If it was today, I'd be strutting around in that there shirt, about to belly up to the nut bar. It's a bleeder, I would say, smiling from ear to ear. Instead, I'm tracking down a length of 2x4 and a saw. I got an idea. I cut 4 pieces of 2x4, the same size as the pedals. I had baling wires, some nails, a leather strap big enough for 2 pedals, a hammer, and a pair of pliers. Didn't have duct tape yet. With those materials, it didn't take me long to rig what seemed like the perfect solution for my short leg problem. I rolled the bike out the back door, leaning against the porch, scratching my head. Should I or shouldn't I? Maybe Mom has something I can help her with, but she was busy feeding baby Jerry. We just brought him home in the spring. It's fall now. No one else around. I walked through the house and was standing on my front porch landing looking around. We lived in the foothills of Salt Lake City on the blind corner of 11th East and 2nd South. A really cool place to live through the eyes of a somewhat adventurous little boy who is so much older than that now. The distinctive earthy pine smell of real tall old black walnut trees lingering in the air. The husk and nuts drop and fall. A covey of quail running in and out of the scrub oak bushes everywhere. Looking to the left, I see the ominous 13th East Hill. At the top of that big hill was and is the U of U campus, as well as the beginning and end of 2nd South, depending upon your viewpoint. No one tried going up or down that hill after a winter storm, which was good for us kids who had tubes and sleds. There is a quaint little park on the left side of that big hill on the same side of 2nd South as my house. Lots of walnut trees shading the small park benches of many, and a continuous flow drinking fountain. That's where I'm headed on the Brown Wonder. From my front door, exactly 13 steps to the sidewalk, with 4 more steps to the curb, with a landing halfway down on the right. I had counted them many times while going up and down those steps with my friend Pogo Stick. I think I might hold some sort of record or something. At least in my mind, that's what Pogo told me. We went on many adventures together. Surprisingly, we thought a lot alike. We've gone to the park a couple of times and back without stopping. We had an up and down relationship. I've wanted to say that for a long time. A rock-style motif on the landing, as well as the hillside down to the grayish decorative brick retaining wall, about the height of the handlebars, following the house side of the sidewalk up to 12th East, getting smaller the closer you get. The same brick wall, only not as high, encircling some of the perimeters on the yard, with huge flat rocks covering the top of the ledge, just right for laying on, warming in the sun, while playing in the sprinklers. Numerous squirrels playing in the firethorn hedge, thick and tall, blocking the whole corner from view, lots of thorns and non-edible orange berries. A very busy intersection. I hear the cars racing through the stop sign on the other side of the road going up the hill, speeding by the 11th East side of my house. 11th East being a pretty busy street, the Holy Cross Hospital across the street a block away, a place later in life I would come to know all too well, and the Covenant of Nuns back across 11th East on the same side as my house. Okay, so there's the picture. Let's go for a ride. Yee-haw. I strolled that bike out the back and around to the front sidewalk. I could not see until I got around the blind corner and the firethorn. I used the steps to my front door to get up on the bike. Man, that is one big bike. I had the pedal set so I could slide my feet into the straps easily. This was going to work. However, it was a little wobbly at first. I had to stand up on the wood pedals, pumping hard all the way to 12th East. It seemed steeper than I remember, though everything was working. 12th East is a one-way feeder road going into 2nd South, going west. Oh, this is a real treat. Beautiful flat road. On one side, large 2-story houses, huge flat yards. And look, there's the paved back alley down to behind my house. You can't see from here. I sit down on the seat a little winded, not hardly moving. I pull up on the pedal, coasting to a halt alongside one of the benches, just the right height to pull up on, and perhaps a dismount and a drink. My foot slid right out of the strap, making it look easy. I perched on the bench and puffed up for a moment. Piece of cake. I got a drink and decided to ride around practicing on applying the brakes. I could use the brakes while sitting on the seat, okay, but I couldn't pedal without standing up. Legs too short. Though the bike was clearly way too big for me, I felt confident and in control, ready for the final check, and then point the bike downhill, stopping right in front of my house, where I started for an easy dismount. I cruised over to a group of friendly-looking rocks right in front of a huge walnut tree in the left corner of the sidewalk, headed home, the curbside. The sidewalk raised up and cracked from the roots of the tree. I pulled my left foot out of the strap and stopped alongside the rocks. With my foot on the rock, I stood there for a moment in a tra-la-la state of mind, really feeling that shirt. Peaceful, accomplished, getting lost in my own thoughts. The birds and the bees and the butterflies all busy singing, buzzing and flying in the wind, squirrels grabbing a nut or two, then running off. The strong smell of citrus coming from the nuts piled up along the edges of the sidewalk, husks split open, drying in the sun. Some scattering across the sidewalk, making them hard to dodge, slightly clumping the gooey pulp on both sides of my tires. I pushed off the rock and I'm pointed downhill. Yahoo! Here we go. I only had to pump the pedals a couple of times, then it's sit back on the seat and enjoy the ride. Down the walk I went, starting out slowly but picking up speed quick. Looking down the walkway, it seemed to narrow, taking on a tunnel effect. I'm going faster and faster, the wall on the right getting higher and higher with every roll, closing off that side of the walkway for retreat. Cars lining the curb for as far as I can see. The sidewalk getting higher than the road below, about level with the car door handles, beginning to whistle as I rolled by. I'm keeping up with the brake thing, okay, pulling up on the would-be pedal, the brown wonder refusing to slow down. I'm about halfway to my house and still having fun. Yahoo! That all changed in an instant. Well, I was going to say when I hit that little bump in the road, but it turns out it wasn't a little bump after all. When I hit that walnut tree root with the cracked sidewalk wrapped around it with my front tire, I was able to maintain my relevance to the bike. But when the back wheel hit that crack, it bounced me off the seat, flinging me forward, straddling the crossbar, feet flying out of the pedal straps simultaneously. I could be in trouble, I thought. Bike wobbly, but I'm hanging on. Heart racing, trying to get back up on the seat. Shins and calves taking a beating from the pedals. No time for ouch. I'm laid out flat on the crossbar with my hands clenched tight to the handlebars. My legs battered and bruised, bleeding, sticking out over the back wheel for balance and trying to avoid the speeding pedals as the wheels turn. One of the things I realized on the go, unless the pedals are in the neutral position, somewhere in between uh-oh and the brake, the pedals spin at the speed of the chain. Ain't no way of ever catching those pedals. I'm scared now, ready to panic, silent scream, if you know what I mean. The weight of the pieces of 2x4 wired to the pedals flips over, slamming the wood into the sidewalk, one after the other. They hit with such force it bounces me back on the seat. After a couple more go-rounds, the wood completely flies off the pedals, leaving a little piece of wire dangling. I see blood on both my legs, and I just realized hitting the crossbar with my balls didn't feel too good either. They were right about the Brown Wonder. It's a racing bike. I'm going faster than I ever gone before. With brakes, I might add. Though I'm back on the seat, I'm in big trouble. I got no brakes. The firethorn and the orange berries getting closer and closer as I race to the dreaded blind corner in front of my house. Road raging with traffic and noise, my spokes whistling in the wind. The narrow 26-inch racing wheels glistening in the sun. I noticed the leather polishing the hub to a high-gloss shine. The front one, of course. I wasn't looking back. Walnut goo going round and round on the edges of the tire, flipping off every so often. You know how it's said, your life flashes in front of your eyes and all that. Well, I think that happened to me. I hadn't lived much, so it was a very short list and brief. It started and ended in a blink. The flyer said Shetland Pony Ride Saturday, ride starting at noon. John read what it said while I stood by his side. The picture of the pony told the rest of the story. The pony's name was Chester. It's Saturday morning. John and I have our 2-gun holsters on that jangled when you walked, and a brand new roll of caps in our 6-shooters. We're dressed in our cowboy boots, cut-offs, no shirt, and our cowboy hats. Mine was red, his was black, with shiny little stars around the brim. The excitement taking over the whole morning. The horse trailer pulls up. Chester steps out. Long white mane and all, ready to ride. We're ready to ride too. The Moonies first in line. We lined up in the brother pecking order. Jim, the oldest, not wearing the shirt, goes first. John and I had been anxiously anticipating this moment all morning, so we didn't mind the little wait. We were jumping with joy. Things were looking good. I'm only telling you that for your information. So this is the scene I seen flash quickly in front of my eyes. Jim reared up on Chester like the Lone Ranger on Silver without the high-o, and takes right off. Man, oh man, that pony can run. Everyone chasing after them for a second, but they was gone. I didn't know Jim could ride like that, arms flapping, having all that fun. There he was running off with all my hopes and dreams. John screaming, "Come back, Jim, come back." I had tears, John never did. We didn't know Big Brother didn't enjoy the ride until the return, making a joke of it to ease the pain. I see me put on that shirt, and that's it. That's my life. I started screaming at the top of my lungs, a blood-curdling sound echoing off the houses as I fly by. I'm really scared now. Absolutely no place to exit stage left. I'm going faster and faster. Did I say that already? Now, I don't know if I was screaming Mom or Mommy, help or help me, but I repeated it many times. My screams now breaking the sound barrier. Mom said later she heard me all the way in the back room and she came running. I was a couple houses away from my house looking at the blind corner and the end of the sidewalk. I felt going this fast, the 4-foot slope down to the street with the little lip on it would catapult me into the traffic racing by. I'd give one last look at my front door, halfway blocked from the view by the wall. No help. I held on knowing this was gonna hurt. Uh-oh. At that moment, a figure appeared at the end of my vision, blurred with tears. At first look, as my eyes cleared, the she-figure was glowing with a halo effect, from the glare of the sun, I suppose. I was in such a panic that whoever it was, if I could talk, I would say, "Get out of the way or I'll kill you," thinking I might keep it brief. Our eyes met and a calmness came over me, telling me to hold on, buddy, as my tears dried up. I watched her spread her legs apart and anchored down, sticking her arms out slightly bent, hands wide open. She didn't wear blue velvet. She wore a plain but formal-looking pleated light dark blue skirt well below her knees, with a matching blue top over a plain white shirt. Long pigtails, gray, almost white, and round-rimmed glasses. Her eyes, not really a color, more a thought, a hope that everything is going to be all right, though the second before I didn't feel that at all. I never stopped looking into her eyes. She was totally focused on the handlebars. Out of my peripheral, I see Mom at the front door as I roll by my steps. Boom! Her hands locked onto the handlebars in between mine, picking her up off the ground for a bit, pushing her back past the crosswalk, forcing me forward on the bike, my face right in front of hers. Her breath sweet-smelling like life, my front tire rolling in between her legs, leaving a walnut husk dirt print right down the middle of her skirt. But she held fast. Wow, she did it. She stopped the bike, laying the brown wonder down, catching me at the same time as I'm falling off into her arms. She stands me up and looks me straight in the eyes, calmly asking me 3 questions, while cuddling both of my shoulders with her hands in a "I hope you've learned your lesson" way. "Jay, what are you doing on such a big bike? Do you think you're cool or what? Is that your big brother's shirt? I guessed it looked a little big on me." I'm thinking to myself, how did she know my name? Or did she say, "Hey"? I wanted to talk, my lips were moving, but I can't answer, can't speak. I'm in shock. In the interim, I hear Mom at the bottom of the steps calling my name. I turned and ran towards her, a voice a couple steps away. I hear, Jay, are you okay?" coming from Mom as she assesses the damage done, acknowledging I was bleeding, but okay. I'm jabbering like a jaybird. Mom, the angel saved me," jumping up and down. I am now convinced the lady in blue is an angel. She just appeared. She knew my name. She stopped the bike. Just like Clarence earning his wings is happening to me. Wow. I'm calm now in the retelling of the Angel Come Calling, but at the time I was bubbling like a soda overflowing in a glass. I turned and pointed, knowing the angel was right there, but she was gone. I rushed to where we met a moment ago. She had completely disappeared as fast as she appeared. How is that possible? Where did she go so fast? I ran up the blind side of my house. I can see the sidewalk all the way up to the next corner. Maybe she cut through the back alley leading to the park. No one. If the person I now call Angel wasn't an angel, where did she go? I continued talking about the angel in the bike, giving a recount of the scene of events. I can only explain one way. Mom suggested she might be a nun that run off not looking for a pat on the back. She would walk up there later and thank her. "But for now, let's get you doctored up," Mom said. I said, okay. I stood the bike up with Mom's help and rolled the brown wonder back to the porch, leaning it against the wall. No kickstand. Ain't that something? A little piece of wire dangling on the pedal. Mom always knew exactly how to say the things I needed to hear. This would be no exception. You can bet I was still jabbering. Mom gave me a love-felt hug, a great big one, a kiss on the cheek, and a rub on the head. After a dab of methylate, stings a little bit, a few bandages, a couple of cookies and cold milk, maybe a few more cookies, I'm set. I wore myself out with the events of the day. Mom let me pull Dad's portable black and white TV over to the couch. I found some cartoons, looks like Woody Woodpecker. I watched cartoons and listened for Jerry, sound asleep in the other room, while Mom walked up to the convent to say thanks, convinced that's where she would find the lady in blue. While she was on the hunt, I thought about it over and over again. Did she say Jay or hey? I know she knew me, and I know now she was my Angel Come Callin'. Though it's not clear why she saved me from who knows what, or why she gave me her breath that day, the sweet smell of life. Mom found out the convent was closed all week. All the sisters in the seminary classes at the U of U, it said closed on the door. Mom looked at me in belief, giving me the nod. I met my angel came calling for the first time that day, a day that will always take me back in time. Thanks. I'm a